The introduction to this story begins with someone talking on the radio, saying there is an evacuation of about 700 people. The water levels of the lake are expected to rise over 1 foot. We are in Argentina, flying over a certain place to observe its ruin. The place is called Epicuan. Then we see a girl running in fear from something in the ruined area. When she stops, she gets struck right before the scene cuts. It soon returns to show her on the ground, backing away fearfully from a person wearing a mask with horns. Perhaps it's not even a mask, but the head of an animal. Unfortunately, the person takes her life. The next scene we see a van moving along a road. For several seconds, our attention falls on an animal skeleton lying there. Inside the van are 6 people. Some seem to be having more fun than others. We currently don't know where they are going. The driver, Nachito, talks about an experience he had one time. Some time ago, he picked up 2 female hitchhikers. Once he reached border control, they left to use the washroom. However, they were taking a long time to come back. A policeman with a dog approached Nachito's van to ask him about the package those girls left inside. He told the officer it isn't his. Suddenly, the dog goes crazy and rips the dress off some lady who had 40 bags of on her. That saves him from getting caught. When he gets asked about the package, he says he still got it with. This makes the ladies laugh. As they keep driving, the passenger, Vasco, complains about the music being loud because he's trying to film a documentary. After that, the camera starts recording. Vasco asks the lady named Carla about her memories before the flood. She can't remember much due to being too young at that time, though she remembers a lakeside resort she always went to with her mom. She didn't like it, for she could not swim. One day she jumped into the lake. The salty water made it impossible for her to sink. She calls it Epicuan, the place we heard about over the radio in the introduction. At the time of the flood, Carla remembers being awakened by the sound of a siren. She heard a lot of screaming people. Getting out of her bed, she noticed the water was up to her knees. Her mother entered her room in a panic, taking Carla in her arms. After that, they never returned to that house. Following this story, the group arrives at a shabby gas station. The 3 ladies enter the store, which is empty. One of them rings the service bell, prompting a disheveled elderly woman to come out. She asks the ladies what they want. The one named Vicky asks to use the washroom. After the woman tells her where to go, she points out they are not from around here. Outside, Vasco gets nervous that it's taking so long and decides to go inside. Yet he doesn't enter the store, he enters the garage. He takes his time, slowly walking around in there, even crouching to inspect a car. A man soon enters to look at Vasco with suspicion. Then we see Vicky in the washroom. She does not like how ugly it is. Given its condition, almost no one would. She looks at the posters on the wall to see that one lady is reported as missing. Switching back to the other 2, the woman offers the others some meat pies. Afterward, she starts talking about her cousin named Olga, who lived in the city where her visitors are from. The woman mentions how much of a harlot she was. She ended up found floating in a lake. It saddens the woman to remember this. Interestingly, looking at Carla makes the woman think she looks like her cousin, Olga. Returning to the garage, the man who entered comes to Vasco to ask him what he's doing there. Vasco feels uneasy due to the man's forthcoming nature. He says they are looking for the boss. After messing around with Vasco for a short time, the man says he is the boss. He learns that all this prowling visitor wants is some gas. Subsequently, Vicky comes near a room where she observes some man being indecent. She watches him for half a minute until Carla comes to get her. Upon the ladies leaving, we learn they have bought those meat pies. The man who Vicky watched comes out and watches them walk away. The group soon looks back at him, somewhat disturbed by how indecent he is. They can't stop looking at him. The man just looks back with a strange face. It's hard to decipher exactly what his look communicates. After giving them their gas, the man who called himself the boss says they have to pay 1,000 pesos. Vasco does not like that it costs so much, but the boss responds rudely to him, saying he caught Vasco prowling in his garage, along with making the boss wash the window of the van. With that, Vasco tells Nachito to pay him. As they ride off, they throw out the meat pies. That indecent man comes close to the boss and they look at the van together. We then see the gang continue riding the distance. Shortly after, we get an overhead view of the ruined village, Epicuan. It is almost terrifying to see all the rubble. That is the destination of our filmmakers. Arriving there, they all exit the van. Carla looks in a certain direction with focus. A man named Diego comes to ask her if she is okay. She tells him the place she's looking at was her grandmother's house. We observe that the ruined state of the village isn't the only troublesome thing. Someone spies on the group through a sniper scope. The next scene has Carla getting recorded in the house she used to live in for Vasco's documentary. She talks about how things were positioned there. When they are not recording, Vasco tells Diego how he wants the documentary to be. After that, he instructs Carla on how he wants her to communicate her memory. There is a specific tone that he wants. During her recording, Carla says that once the flood struck, some people did not want to leave. Firefighters had to use force to get them out. After she is done, Vasco expresses his approval of how well she delivered her line. It's exactly what he wants and the man is now excited. Following this, they walk around in a ruined house. Maybe it's even Carla's house. Diego finds some drawings on a dusty plank of wood that look like they were done by kids. Someone quickly passes by while he is looking. The guy notices it. Afterward, Nacho shoots some modeling photos of Vicky. He manages to squeeze himself into at least one of them too. Later, Vasco asks her where she was. He shows such concern because she is his girlfriend. She was taking photos, is her excuse. Vasco wishes she would have told him about it. That way they could have taken them together. The film director is somewhat irritated by it. As the group gets into the van to ride off, we notice there is a serious leak coming from underneath the van. It appears that someone has cut its fuel hose. Inside the van, Vasco continues to show his disappointment with his girlfriend by telling her she was supposed to be taking pictures of the ruins. He tells the young lady she is unprofessional. Not surprisingly, it doesn't take long for the van to suddenly stop. It prompts Nachito to inspect the back of his vehicle and gets into an argument with Vasco about the situation. Then Vicky says there is a strange smell there. The lady named Erica looks beneath the van to notice that the fuel hose is cut. While they try to deal with this unfortunate situation, Vasco sees a car approaching. When it arrives, a man smoking a cigarette steps out of it. He looks like the kind of man who deals with serious matters. He asks them what they are doing there. Vasco simply tells him the truth. This makes the man kneel to check the problem with the van. In a few seconds, he says someone cut the fuel hose. Vasco has a hard time dealing with what he heard. He probably wonders why anyone would do that, since that is the case. The stranger suggests they go to the gas station together to get the hose replaced. He insists that only Vasco comes with him. Before leaving, Vasco instructs Erica on what she should do regarding their filming. He also tells Nachito that if he touches Vicky, he will end his life. With those friendly parting words, the man gets in the car with the stranger. As the gang walks without its leader, Erica asks Carla if she still has any friends from this place. Carla answers that she has a few, but she does not see them anymore. Erica wants the evacuee of Epicuan to tell her if she is not comfortable with something. Carla tells Erica that it's very weird for her to have returned to her hometown from the distant past. After Erica asks her a few more questions, it looks like she wants to kiss her, yet she does not. We then see Nacho alone with Vicky. We hope for his sake that he won't do anything wrong with her. It's clear that he's very much attracted to her, though he should remember the threat Vasco gave him. The lady teases him with her dancing. She teases him some more by blowing smoke in his face. Already, we sense these two are going to do something that will make one man very angry. In the next scene, Carla approaches Diego and looks at his drawings. She didn't think he could draw so well. Flipping a few pages allows her to see his drawing of a lady's face. Afterward, we see Vasco with the stranger. He tells him that he's creating a documentary about Epicuan. He plans to present it in Berlin next year. Soon Vasco looks in the backseat, where he sees the same poster of the missing lady that Vicky saw in that ugly washroom. Switching back to the trio, they keep exploring while recording the ruined area. The macabre sight of a skeleton gets recorded too. Returning to Nachito and Vicky, we witness them being intimate in the van. We knew this would happen. It didn't even take long. While they have fun, someone is watching them from outside the van. In the meantime, Carla gets recorded again, telling their future viewers she is at the cemetery. She says when the water reached the graves, people panicked. They wanted to recover the bodies of their relatives. Some divers brought up the bodies. Carla remembers her neighbor asking them to bring back her 3 brothers. They brought back 4 people to her and she had to bury them all. After the shooting, Carla walks inside the cemetery alone. Her screaming makes the other 2 rush to her. They learn the awful news that a snake bit her. Diego tends to her before helping her walk. Then Nachito asks Vicky what she sees in Vasco. According to him, she can pick anyone she wants. Vicky responds that he buys her things along with taking her to places. He is also smart, someone she looks up to. She finishes by saying he's a good guy. Nachito just repeats her last sentence, perhaps as a form of mockery. Once he leaves, she calls out to her dog several times, but the animal isn't coming to her. As Nachito empties himself outside, we observe someone wearing an animal head walk behind him. The stranger stops to look at Nachito. During Vasco's ride, the man driving him has to stop because of a roadblock. He comes out with a rifle. Another man wearing an animal skull is the reason for the blockage. Vasco watches them interact from a distance inside the car. Suddenly, a club shatters the front window. It causes Vasco to exit the car in fear, mixed with confusion. Another man wearing a skull grabs him. He strikes the director with the club, causing his demise. The poor man came all this way to film a documentary. What he got instead is the unfaithfulness of his girlfriend and the end of his life. The man who was driving him does nothing except watch through the scope attached to his rifle. We realize this is the same person who watched them when they entered Epicuan. After that, we witness Vicky running. Someone seems to simply walk behind her with a blade. She hides inside a barrel that lies on its side. At first, he walks past her. However, soon comes her unpleasant surprise as the man showing himself to the scared lady. The next scene shows her with Diego, restrained in the back of a vehicle. Vicky then gets taken out and gets carried by 2 guys wearing skulls. Our attention is brought to a building that is called Matadero. Returning to the trio, we witness 2 of them helping the snake-bitten Carla walk. Upon arriving near the van, Diego calls out to their companion. Yet we know their situation. The 2 of them place Carla in the van prior to Diego calling out to their friends in a louder voice. Continuing to yell out to them, he receives no response from the ruins. At night, blue light, as well as smoke, come out from the building called Matadero. A truck also rides away from it. Inside the van, Diego tells Erica they have to go. Erica starts showing him something on the camera. We don't see what it is, but it makes her gasp. Unexpectedly, lights shine behind them for a few seconds. Diego hopes it is their friends that did it. Once it happens again, Erica panics. After Diego tries calming her, he exits the van to see a gas mask on a pike. He removes it and sees Vicky's lifeless dog. Erica observes the grisly sight too, from inside the van. Their situation just keeps getting worse. She looks out the window to see the shadow of a horned animal head. At this point, Erica has had enough, and she starts running away. Unfortunately, her spontaneous plan to escape gets quashed by a bear trap catching her. Diego rushes to the helpless lady to try to free her. While he does that, one of the perpetrators approaches them. Diego gets scared and runs away without rescuing Erica. If she survives, she will never think of him as a chivalrous man. Neither would anyone else if she chooses to tell them. Diego hides in a place where the man who drove Vasco grabs him. He gestures to Diego, implying he should be quiet. When the perpetrators leave, he approaches the bear trap where Erica is. After crying about what happened, he picks up a large intimidating axe that was left behind. Following this, a camera starts recording. A man looks at it. We recognize him as the man from the gas station who called himself the boss. Erica lies near him with a severed lower leg. The axe that Diego picked up was most likely the weapon used to remove it. The man holds a jar in front of the camera, saying that inside it is his. Then he presents two other jars, one containing a puppy and the other his. It is all very disturbing. After that, the man shows an area where he says someone named Tito plays. Many bottles hang from the ceiling there and we see he is not in his right mind. Coming to Erica, he rhetorically asks if she wants to make a documentary. He wants his documentary titled Lessons by Chimango. Supposedly, that is his name. His first lesson is him using a wire to restrain her remaining leg. His second lesson is him giving her what he calls Argentine cuts. Afterward, the madman wraps tape around his mouth and head. This is followed by him elevating a giant chainsaw that he uses to cut her leg. In the next scene, we witness Nachito in a cage somewhere along with Vicky restrained to a chair. That older man from the gas station, who stared at them in creepy silence, is there to remove his mask. He comes to Nachito, offering his first words to the man in the cage. Just like Chimango before him, he is a rhetorical man. He asks Nachito if he knows how many boys like him he had ruined before. The man then empties himself on him. Vicky suffers while watching this. Shortly after, the man turns on some music and starts dancing. He takes Nachito out of the cage to give him a mortal wound. All of this is done while the lively music playing. Poor Vicky is forced to witness it. After that, the man has to smoke to help him relax. While hell is taking place there, Diego comes to the Matadero building. The other man is near him too. Back at the place, another man comes to sit beside Vicky. He touches the lady who is beyond scared. The older man calls him a freak who fell in love. He also says that he will take care of her. But this new man seems to protect Vicky. It causes the older man to tell him to go, due to his mom calling him. Once he leaves, the older man stands there, looking at Vicky and thinking about what to do with her. Subsequently, the man with the sniper rifle walks inside the building. The place he walks through has many animal skulls hanging on the wall. There are many lit candles too. Soon he looks at old photographs. A respectable number of them are photos from a war. The man finds a wallet that contains a picture of the missing lady we saw previously. Someone is there with her who looks like it could be him. He sits down after this discovery. He is about to call it quits for reasons not entirely known, yet gets interrupted by someone screaming. We see Chimango making meat out of Erica's. Then the man with the rifle enters the room where Erica is. Unbeknownst to him, someone stands behind him wearing the skull of a ram. Meanwhile, the older man is Vicky and she can't do anything except cry. Thankfully, Diego shows up behind the wicked individual and uses the intimidating axe on him. By doing that, he ends him and saves Vicky. Perhaps this action redeems him after running away from Erica when she needed him. In a short time, the duo walks together. Diego tries to calm the traumatized lady before telling her to wait for him. Later, he uses a blade to stab someone wearing an animal skull. Removing the skull shows him that it's the man with the rifle who he hurt. Chimango is there to ask him what he did, while holding a knife to Vicky. He threatens to take her life if Diego does not drop the blade. However, he doesn't need to drop anything because someone strikes Diego unconscious from behind. In the next scene, we see him with Vicky sitting at a table where Chimango prepares food. That old woman from the gas station store enters the room while wheeling in Erica. She says they will have dinner prepared by Chimango. Soon someone else comes in. Since he drops something by mistake, the woman beats him for it. She also throws a vulgar insult at him. Erica asks for water, so the woman rudely tells Chimango to give her water. He pours some substance into her mouth that does not look like normal water. The woman then tries feeding Erica a meat pie. Her not wanting to eat it prompts them to force it into her. The woman talks to her like everything is normal, even asking if it tastes good. She slaps Erica due to the latter not answering her. Shortly after, Chimango and the woman start laughing maniacally. Vicky has had enough, abruptly standing with a broken bottle in her hands. Knowing that there is no way out of this hellish circumstance, she uses it that building. At Epicuan, Diego manages to do something slightly better, releasing himself from his restraints prior to running away. This causes the woman to yell out to the other man, calling him Tito. She wants him to chase Diego. Tito walks with a menacing mace. searching for the man in hiding. He finds a piece of paper on the floor that he picks up. It is Diego's drawing of the lady's face. Tito likes it, as he looks at it with interest. The one who drew it surprises Tito by striking him from behind. But Tito has abnormal strength and toughness, so he does not fall from it. He manages to put Diego on the ground. Trying to use his mace on him, he misses. Diego manages to strike him to remove his animal skull. What we observe with the skull gone is a grotesque face. Diego keeps hitting him after that. Suddenly, a lady yells out for him to stop. She is none other than Carla. She tells Diego to just do what her grandmother wants. Of course, her words inject him with confusion. At this point, he realizes Carla allowed these insane people to destroy everyone. In response, Carla says he knows nothing. She adds that they lost everything and no one came to help them. We can see her hysteria while she says this. Then Tito stands up behind Diego. He picks him up with one arm, though he drops him at Carla's command. She approaches Diego, telling him to forgive her before taking his life. Much later, we see a car moving along a road with two guys inside. They stop to pick up a lady hitchhiker with a guitar. Once she's inside, they ask her where she's going. We can't recognize her with her sunglasses, along with her different hair. Yet she is Carla, telling them she's going to Epicuan. As they continue driving, we see someone who is very likely Tito standing on the road with that huge axe. This makes us wonder how many times Carla has lured people to their doom.